Shall we try again? One of the first rooms that I decluttered on my minimalist journey was the kitchen, and I got rid of a lot of things that were just not used, duplicates, or broken, unnecessary. And at the time I had a kitchen that was smaller than this one, and reduced our items to really just what we used and we loved. That kitchen declutter was one of the first videos that I shared on my journey here on this channel, and since then I've shared what I thought were kitchen essentials, kitchen clean with me's, more declutters, and today I thought I'd take you on a morning in my kitchen baking applesauce and banana bread and a jalapeno bacon jam, all from scratch. I will share the recipes, kind of talk about them as we go through this video, and then at the end of each recipe I'll put up a screenshot, so if you're watching on mobile you can just take a screenshot if that recipe interests you. I will also leave the recipes in the description box below for you. Growing up, my mother kept the monthly meal plan on the refrigerator held by a magnet because my father liked to know what was for dinner so that he knew what to have for lunch. And she always had a clean and tidy kitchen. I don't remember dishes in the sink. I don't remember waking up to a dirty kitchen with dishes all over the place. My mother was a homemaker. I am a homemaker. My grandmothers all were homemakers. The memory, the vision I have of my maternal grandmother was always smiling, and she was always cooking and putting together meals anytime we came over, and we lived pretty close to her, so we went over and saw her a lot. And I remember sometimes she would have a ham that she cooked for hours, and sometimes it was ham out of the deli kit from the grocery store. And all she wanted was us there. She always had food available to us. And my takeaway from that is it doesn't matter if you spent hours cooking or if you're just putting something out. It's time together. That's all she wanted, was the connection. And she was always smiling and always happy. My vision of my paternal grandmother, my father's mother, is very iconic. She always wore a dress, she always had an apron on, and she was dressed to shoes. She had these chunky black sneaker shoes that she wore all the time, which now makes sense if you're on your feet all day. And she had the same dish towel every time I saw her and every time we visited her. And she cooked everything from scratch, and she made the best biscuits. And I remember helping as a child make the biscuits, rolling out the dough on the table. She'd put down this old plastic or vinyl table cover, and we'd roll out the dough and use a can of soup that she had cleaned out to shape all the biscuits. And my mother would recreate that recipe later in life, and we'd use a glass or an old can as well. And now I make biscuits for the kids or for my dog, and I use a glass. I just turn a glass over and make the shapes. And I think we carry on these motherly traditions and do these things in a simple way, because that was the way of our grandparents. I was a parent volunteer a few months ago at my 7-year-old's karate class, and his job was to get out of a grip that I had on his wrists as a form of self-defense. And he had to distract me to be able to get himself free. And the teacher had given him a hint. tell your parents that there are cookies around the corner. They keep it fun and light. And my son tried cookies, but I didn't let him go. And then he said, "Look, Mom, there's a Minimalist." And then I didn't let him go. And he said, "Look, Mom, there's something to clean over there." So his vision of me is that I am a minimalist homemaker who likes to clean. And so I hope I'm going to also come to mind later in life as someone who was in the kitchen making food from scratch for him. I am lucky enough in life to have 2 dads, and I had an extra set of grandparents that came with my second dad. And my nan always dresses up, hair, makeup, clothes, and has food on the table when we come to visit. And she's in her 90s today, and I am still lucky enough to enjoy her company. So this first recipe is homemade applesauce, and I took about 2 pounds of apples, peeled them, sliced them, and cooked them down for 20 minutes. Then I added 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and a squeeze of lemon juice. I pour the whole pot into the food processor, the liquid and everything, because the liquid will actually help with the consistency of the applesauce. And then I pulse it and just put it through the food processor for a few minutes until I get the consistency that the kids like. And that's it. You can add cinnamon when you add the brown sugar as well, but my 4-year-old does not like cinnamon, so I'm trying to make a batch for him that he likes. I can't quite get it right for him. He loves those applesauce squeezies. He loves applesauce out of a jar, and I'm just trying to make it from scratch for him. I'm putting some in a bowl for him to try, and then I'm putting some in some reusable jars that we have. My 6-year-old, my 7-year-old, my husband, and I all love this applesauce. My parents, when they visit, have liked this applesauce. So everyone except for my picky 4-year-old can I get this recipe right for. Will you try the applesauce first to make sure it's better this time?
Yes.
Yes?
Still not better.
It's still not better. What don't you like?
Wait, did you forget to not put cinnamon in it?
I did not put cinnamon.
Well,
I only put apples and sugar. That's it.
you forgot something.
What did I forget?
Those freezing.
The lemon juice. I added that.
Oh.
Apple, sugar, and lemon juice. That's all I used. It cannot get simpler.
Well, I still don't like it.
Well, I'll keep trying. The next batch, I'll add a little extra sugar. I don't know how to get it quite right for him, but it is absolutely delicious. So he's just a picky eater, and I am determined in this life as a homemaker to get that right for my son. The next thing we're making this morning is some jalapeno bacon jam. This will be for my 7-year-old, my husband, and I will taste test it. I'm not a big jalapeno fan, but my 7-year-old and my husband definitely are. In fact, we grow our own jalapenos in the backyard along with tomatoes, Hungarian hot wax, cayenne long thins, banana peppers, and then I have 4 different varieties of tomatoes back there as well. And the season's coming to an end. I am going to have to clean out that back porch, but for now we're still plucking tomatoes and peppers off nearly every day to cook. I sent bags of them to work with my husband for him to give away as well. So we've been making chili and just adding peppers and tomatoes into recipes that maybe normally wouldn't call for it. I'm making a half batch today, so I actually only need 1 red onion and 2 jalapenos. These jalapenos, the red jalapenos, are just left on the plant longer. They're a little bit sweeter and spicier. And then I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of minced garlic to go in the bacon fat once I've taken the bacon out of the pan. I usually just have a bowl in the kitchen for scraps that are going to end up in the compost pile on days like this, because I am cooking so much that I'll end up filling the entire compost bin. So I just use a bowl and then carry it out to the backyard, and I'll show you that as well. So the onions, I'm just finely chopping all the onions to match the size of the garlic, and I'll do the same with the jalapenos so that the consistency is the same when they're cooking down in the pot. In the background, you see there's a jar of tomato sauce. That's not for this recipe. That jar of tomato sauce was for lasagna that I was also making this morning to have in the evening, because this was date night for my husband and myself, and the babysitter was going to be there. So I made a lasagna for them to have while we were out. And it was just part of all of my morning spent in the kitchen and spent in my apron as a homemaker. We are garlic lovers in this house, so I usually double up the garlic on whatever I'm doing. And since I'm making a half batch, it would normally call for a half teaspoon, but I'm just doing a heaping teaspoon in there. And it did not come out terribly garlicky, so I probably could have even added more. Part of my role as a homemaker is homeschool. I do planning, I do the lessons and all the running around and the field trips and the sports and the extracurriculars. My husband absolutely is a partner in that. He will step in and do a lesson when he's home. He will help them with any extra assignments that they have, or he will actually meet us at all the sports and tag team with me so that I can go to yoga, or I can just go home and make dinner. And there's a balance today in our household, in a modern homemaking, that wasn't necessarily there when for my mother and my grandmothers. It just wasn't part of that generation. And modern homemaking today, I think it's you're expected to ask for help, that you can't do all the things. And I am so fortunate to have a partner in this world who wants that balance, who wants me to ask for help, who wants to help, who wants to be a part of that, who was up in the middle of the night changing diapers, who cooks dinner, who cleans, who meets us at sports. I love that about our marriage and about our family, that I am the primary homemaker and he is the primary breadwinner, but we have a balance and we share that responsibility, because I am also someone who brings money into the house and he is also someone who is a homemaker. And it's a really lovely balance in our household. After the bacon is all done, I'm setting it aside on a paper towel to cool and just draining the fat out. I use a little bit of the fat. I spoon in a couple of spoonfuls with the onions, garlic, and the peppers. When I add them to this hot pot, I spoon in a little bit of the bacon grease, and then I'll just refrigerate the bacon grease and throw it away in the trash. I cook down the onions and the peppers and the garlic, getting up the brown bits left over from the bacon, for about 10 minutes before I add the rest of the ingredients, and then simmer for 1 to 2 hours. I usually go about an hour and a half. So those rest of the ingredients, that's a 1/4 cup of apple cider, 1/4 cup of maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, a teaspoon of chili powder, and then salt and pepper. And I just mix it all up together and add it to the pot once the onions have rendered down, and then add the bacon back in break it all apart in the pot, and let it simmer for 1 to 2 hours. Then I transfer it to a food processor to get that jam consistency. You can certainly serve it like this in a chunky format, but I like it a little bit more like jam, so does my husband. And I just use the pulse feature on the food processor to get it a little bit like a jelly jam consistency and store it in those jars again. And sometimes I will serve it on a charcuterie board or just have it on its own with a set of club crackers. They're really good on the salted club crackers. Our last recipe today is banana chocolate chip bread. I have made this probably 100 times and it never lasts more than a couple of hours in our house. My family gobbles this up. This is a Lucas family favorite I'm sharing with you today. You need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt to start. I actually just mash the bananas with my hands directly into the dry ingredients. Some people do their dry ingredients and their wet ingredients separate. I just keep it simple and save time and just mix it all together in a bowl, and it's come out great every time. You could use a 9x5 loaf pan to bake this in. I have found that the 8x8 glass pan, Pyrex dish, whatever, is the best. The bread comes out the best way. I've tried cooking it in many different pans, and this is the process that I now use, and it comes out so fantastic every time. And the kids start wandering into the kitchen when they hear that I'm making banana bread. My daughter's very excited about banana bread. So I add a tablespoon of milk and about a teaspoon of cinnamon, mix it through, and then I switch over to my KitchenAid to cream the butter with the sugar. Put a cup of white sugar and a half a cup of butter together in the KitchenAid and beat until creamy. Then I add 2 eggs to the mixture and fold in the banana dry mix. It only takes a minute for the ingredients to combine, and then I add in a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips or whatever chocolate chips I happen to have, and just mix it until the chocolate chips are blended through. I don't want to beat them through. And then I pour it into a greased 8x8 glass pan and put in the oven for 50 minutes. I check it after 50 minutes. It's 50. It sometimes needs up to 70 minutes depending on the oven. My particular oven here I've mastered takes 55 minutes, but it really depends on how your oven cooks. My oven at the last house, it needed a full 70 minutes to bake. And then I take it out of the oven for 10 minutes to cool before I transfer it to a rack to finish cooling. And usually once it hits the rack, it's half gone.
This is delicious.
It cooks for about an hour.
And the cool time? About half the cook time?
About 20 minutes.
So about half the cook.
Jack, you want some? It's more than half gone.
I'm gonna stop eating this or I'm gonna not have food there.
And this is the food waste I'm going to put into our compost bin. I just collected it all morning. And now I'll take you outside. We're going through my container garden of peppers and tomatoes to get to the compost bin in the back. I hope when the kids are older, they have a vision of me as a homemaker. They remember me in my apron and baking banana bread for them and coming together in our kitchen, being together all the time at this stage of their lives, and just focusing on family. And I hope that is what I am embedding into their memories each and every day.